Matt, can you please explain GPMs? Oh, GPMs. All right, this is a Scientology thing. GPMs are goals, problem, masses. Okay, goals, problem, masses. GPMs. These are the black masses of the reactive mind. These are the core. These are the things that make the reactive mind be what it is. And what are they? Well, they are okay. Hubbard put forth this idea that the reason that thetans are so screwed up ultimately has to do kind of with masses and electronics, and that it is charge, it's electric charge that is accumulated through the resistance that is built up from problems that you've encountered over time. A problem in Scientology is defined as an intention, a force, a push in a direction. I have a goal or an idea that I want to build widgets. I'm going to invest energy and time and resources into that goal. I'm going to push forward on that goal, right? That's the energy that I am investing in it. So that's my force, or that's my intention. I will be met with problems, with counter force or counter intention to my intention. People are going to push back. They're going to say I shouldn't do it. They're going to try to fight me. They're going to try to make widgets of their own, and by doing that, they're going to be pushing back because they're going to say, "Don't buy Shelton's widgets, buy ours." Right? They're going to push back on mine. That's going to be a problem. Intention, counter intention, they clash. So Hubbard said that the energy that a thetan is investing in this, that he's producing and creating, actually is a physical universe quantity. It's real energy. The thetan is not energy. The thetan is an energy production unit. He's producing this energy and using it to push forward what he wants. And I say he generically, thetans don't really have gender, but the thetan wants whatever the thetan wants and is using the body as a vehicle to, communicate and interact in the physical world. And the thetan invests energy and time, etc. Okay. I think you kind of get the idea. It's very figurative. It's very I'm describing this. I'm trying my best to describe something that Hubbard didn't really spend a lot of time trying to describe. Okay, so I'm trying to make it clear to you, even though in Scientology, the stuff that covers this is way more general. He just talks about intention, counter-intention, push, right? And the energy and the mass that results from this. So anyway, so if you imagine these two fire hoses, pushing against one another, the ball of water that would be, building up between these two opposing fire hoses would be the goal problem mass. It would be, the mass that's resulting from these energy compressing against one another, because matter is just compressed energy. So if you're pushing, you're investing in this goal, and you spend an entire lifetime doing this. You want to make widgets. You dedicate this life to making widgets. And that's your job. That's your thing. You're the CEO of Widget Mania, and that's what you spend your whole life doing. And you're pushing back against the people who don't want widgets or don't want you doing that or whatever. And as a result, you have this mass building up of the problem created by the counter effort to your effort. And the goal problem mass thing is not just any problem. It's goal kind of problem, like life goal problem. Like it's big goals. It's goals that actually span longer than one lifetime. Not that it's going to take you longer than one lifetime to accomplish the goal. It's just that this is the goal you as a thetan have set for a whole series of lifetimes, a whole eon of your existence. Let's say for whatever reason, you really get a gumption to go catch criminals. And you're going to be a cop. You're going to be a good guy. That's what you're going to do. And you're going to fight evil, and you're going to fight badness. You're going to fight criminals. Okay? And that's the goal. And that goal carries you as a Thetan through multiple lifetimes. You're a cop, and then you're a cop again, and then you get another body, and you're a cop again. And you're really into this, right? And this goal carries you forward for a good long time. And all that energy that you're expending in this is your force, right? Your effort, your intention. And it's being met and hit up against by the criminals. The criminals aren't on your goal line. They're anti your goal. They're against you. They want to commit crime. They want to, reap the benefits of a criminal life. And they're not at all interested in being good. They want to be evil. So you're fighting them. And so you build up this mass, this energy mass, which becomes an actual matter. It becomes compressed energy. And you're carrying it around with you, I guess, in the same way that Jacob Marley was carrying the chains of his sins, right? Like you're carrying this around with you from life to life, this mass. And this is what makes up your mind, your reactive mind, because these identities. See, what ends up happening with the goal problem mass is you get very, very screwed up on the concept of identity. Because here's what Hubbard, I hope we're tracking so far. This is very weird stuff. I know that, okay? So I'm really trying to do my best here. You're carrying these masses around with you in your mind that have built up over these eons from this energy, right? And you end up doing a flip. You flip the script on yourself. You're going along as this cop, this enforcer, this good guy for all these lifetimes, and then you just hit a brick wall. Somehow, whatever happens, you decide to change your mind. You know what? I'm going to be a criminal now. And you flip it. And you become the other end of your own GPM. You become the opposite identity that you've been fighting this whole time. You decide you become that. And now you're a criminal. For life after life after life after life, you are now on this whole different goal that was opposite to the one you used to be on. You're compelled to do this through the mechanism of the GPM. You become what you resist, right? You resist what you resist, you become. This is not just this is basically the basic idea of the GPM is that your identity starts becoming compulsive and obsessive because of the content of these GPMs that you've built up over millennia of time. So whereas we talk about how each individual painful incident that happens to you every time you die, every time you're born, that's pretty painful. Every time bad things, violent things happen to you, you have what's called an engram, a single incident of pain and unconsciousness that is stored in your subconscious reactive mind and comes back on you later. Well, over all these trillinia, these engrams start gathering on these GPMs. I mean, we're talking about a physical thing here. It's real live, real world energy, real world mass that you're carrying around with you. And these engrams, these moments of pain and unconsciousness, start accumulating on these GPMs. Don't ask me how. This is all just made up, okay? But this is what Hubbard said. And he said that these engrams will sort of coagulate on these things. And so all that energy from all those engrams is sort of feeding this beast of a GPM and obsessively forcing you to have different identities. And after enough time has gone by, you got so many of these different GPMs that they're actually kind of getting in each other's way. And they're influencing you in these crazy, crazy ways and making you feel very, very confused about who you really are and what you really should be doing. Because you got, 20 different compulsions pushing and pulling you in 20 different ways. Kind of weird. In a way, it would be amazing if that was the explanation for multiple personalities and personality disorders and identity disorders. I mean, wouldn't it be amazing if we knew that was what the problem was and you just had to bust out an e-meter and start auditing people and get them up to the state of clear, and then all that goes away and they're no longer so screwed up about their identity and about all these compulsive ideas about being a cop or being a robber or about being a barbarian or being a slave or being a king or being a fool. I mean, all these opposing identities rack up over time. And this is, you know, the basis of a lot of insanity and a lot of grief and a lot of anxiety. And you can imagine this explanation really makes a lot of sense to Scientologists who learn about it. But none of it's true. None of this stuff is real, but this is what Scientologists believe is real and is sort of at the root of a lot of personal problems and issues that we have. And then, okay, so this was all developed, by the way, just so you know, before all the Xenu stuff. The GPM stuff was stuff that Hubbard developed or invented or came up with in the early to mid 1960s. And after coming up with all this, he then came up with the whole Xenu thing with the body thetans. So when you do OT level 2, most of what you're addressing are these GPMs. And then you get to OT3 and you start addressing the body thetans. And that's kind of how the relationship of those two things works in terms of when and how you address this in Scientology. You can address the GPMs earlier on earlier levels having to do with getting up to clear, but OT2 also deals with them. So kind of crazy, wild stuff, but that's my best go. Off the top of my head here at explaining GPMs. I hope it works.